There we are.
Oh, Rumble Studio.
There we are. We are live in action in the new studio with Ryan. It is echoey, so I'm going to try to keep it nice and tight to the mic. But otherwise, it gets a little echoey in here, for sure. Ryan, I don't know if you know this. You do know this. I do know that you know this. I don't even know why I said that. Ryan, here's what we're doing today. We got to talk about a little bit of cryptocurrency. There's some
Cairo currency.
Some heavy regulations in the EU. Some people are taking it as a win. I'm taking it as a loss. But let's we'll talk. Yeah, well, listen. The kids would say an L, and I'm taking it as an L. Some are taking it as a W, but we don't speak like kids here, Ryan. Come on. Sometimes we do. We're children. Let's be honest.
We use the R word, David.
Every once in a while. That's old school. We're going to talk about plastic in the body. More specifically, we've talked about plastic in the balls, but we're going to get more specific into plastic in the tips, just the tips. Supreme Court had another gun ruling, different from the bump stock ban. Bump stock ban overturned from the Supreme Court was great. This ruling, I don't love. I'll get into why. And Kansas is suing Pfizer over the COVID vaccine. You're going to see how, because Ryan, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, they can't do that. They're secret vaccine courts. But there is a way to do that. There is a way to do that. They found a loophole, Ryan. You just sue them for something else. It's not libel. It's something else.
Oh, so you mean, David, if you can't get somebody with one count, you just hit them with 70 different counts of something, and you eventually have one that's...
I have seen them do that before. Yeah, it's pretty great. Before we really get into it, Ryan, I got two screens, and I do this at work too. I got multiple screens, and then my mouse gets lost. Like I said, we're children, but not really. We're gonna show off the studio, Ryan. Check this out.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Gloat, David. Just gloat. It's gonna make me feel small.
Well, you're small. It's fine. Listen. Look at this. We got our shirts up in action. We got the old eagle. We got Patriot Pat here, just hanging out. We got the little Lego Liberty and D Trump there.
The best is meditations, let's be honest. Short of the Constitution up there.
Good catch, Ryan. Good catch. Dude, the Ron Swanson is the best. Let's be honest. I mean, I know we're serious here, but sometimes we joke as well. The Ron Swanson is amazing.
I've never seen a single episode of that show.
Okay. I'm going to need you. I don't want to overhype the show, but I'm going to need you to watch it because Ron Swanson is one of the greatest characters in TV history. The rest of the show, it's all right. It's funny. Chris Pratt's there. He's cool. But Ron Swanson really makes the show. There's no doubt.
You mean Chris Schwarzenegger?
Excuse me?
Chris Pratt, Star-Lord?
Yeah. Yeah, why'd you call him Chris Schwarzenegger?
He's married to Schwarzenegger's daughter.
Oh, I don't know any of that shit, Ryan. You're lucky I even know Chris Pratt's name.
You like the Guardians movie?
I do. I'm not like a movie buff in that I don't know like all the actors, the directors, the producers. Like, you know how you can just like go through and list
let's be
all
honest,
the people. This guy directed this movie and this movie and this. Like, I don't know any of that shit. I just watch the movies, you know.
Yeah, some people are good with actors though. Like, I'm kind of okay with like good actors. Like, I really know good actors that do good artwork and stuff. But yeah, the director thing, most people don't. Let's be honest, most people don't give a fuck who directs a movie anymore. It's not like oh my God, Martin Scorsese directed this movie, but the people that know about film do. Whatever. I know it's monologuing, but
Ryan,
it's important. It's important. It freaking literally inspires Dave to have greatness behind him. On like Dave, seriously, it's beautiful. I love it. It's great. Dave and I joked around about what kind of studio I have to have now, but I'm not even going to talk about that.
I like that Ryan's is just it's just all over the place, and then of course
the Gypsy podcast.
Come on,
Dave is the brand. I am just the talent.
Well, that's insulting. Ryan,
I gotta make it feel small, Dave. You know what I mean? Like,
we're gonna turn on the old crypto here. Let's talk crypto.
All right, hit me with the ones and zeros, Dave.
Okay, I'll hit you with the ones and zeros. Here's what I know about this. So that we can see this here.
Yes.
All right, Ryan. Here's the thing.
What's MICA, David?
That's the shorthand of the act. It does stand for a very long thing that we could get into if you really want to, but that's not what's important. The important thing is here's the split on this. Some people are taking this as a win because apparently crypto wasn't out in Europe the way it is in the States. This I guess is the introductory of crypto to the EU, the European Union, all the European countries that don't matter.
Social crypto.
Yeah. So the crypto
Commie
people are like,
crypto.
well, it's expanding out into Europe. And that's, I guess I see their point, but here's the problem. It is going to be heavily regulated in Europe, which it really isn't in the United States. And here's the thing. The EU is telling all the states that they have to meet certain marks. And then different countries that they have to meet all the marks. And then the countries themselves are going to have some variations in how they enforce this, but really it's all the same thing. The other thing too, they are not going to regulate the coin specifically. So they're not going to regulate Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Dogecoin, right? They're not going to go after each individual one. They're going to go after the service provider. So they're going to go after like Coinbase or whatever you use. They're going to go after the wallets and the providers.
They're going to go after the crypto bank, basically the bank holder, the equivalent,
yes,
rather.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Not the branch, but the bank.
Yeah. So the reason I take this is an L, as the kids would call it. This isn't a win. It's too heavily regulated to really make a difference and work. I know it does expand. It's going to affect the prices here. In theory, some of the prices should go up, but
because there's more demand for it, rather.
Yes, but the other thing is with crypto, there's only a certain amount of coins that get made or produced, and then they cap out. That's kind of why crypto is going to have value, because certain coins will cap out at, 2 million coins. It's going to be, that's it. And once they hit that, the demand is the demand, so the value is just going to go up from there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like money where you just print it out and boom, 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 here you go. There's going to be caps on all the coins. Now, a lot of these like meme coins and the lower dollar value stuff, they have like trillions of coins as their cap.
I understand where you're coming from.
But I guess really, at the end of the day, all this is just heavy regulation on cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency going to Europe, the European Union, and they're going to regulate providers. That's pretty much the gist of it.
Do you now, David? Can I ask you a question? Do you think this will be the because some people in the community have speculated that the EU and some of these other heavily more socialized, we'll say, countries as far as their implementations for things, that they're testing grounds for the United States, and then they'll work out the thing there, and then they'll bring that system here. And the war on drugs would be an example, because that was always around global treaties, and then it was adopted by the United States by the Reagan administration.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see regulation coming here. There's no way they're just going to let this keep flying the way it is. No, there's a lot of myths about cryptocurrency. For example, people think it's untraceable, untrackable, and it's just completely not true. I mean, we've actually, I think on this show, we've gone over some stories about
that the FBI paid a guy, and then they went to the dude's house, SWAT teamed him, captured the guy, and got the crypto back. So like they did everything.
Yeah. So it is entirely traceable. So when people think, oh well, if I do whatever through crypto, no, it used to be. It is difficult to trace. It's certainly more difficult than tracing
Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, he was the only one though. It's a lot harder than tracing credit card or ATM deposit. You know what I mean? It's harder than that, but it's still doable.
No, come on.
Ryan's getting his mouth shoved full right now.
If it was only never mind. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say.
If it's only
it was only a harem of women.
If it was only a plastic-filled penis.
David, one quick thing before we go on to Ken Penis. I'm just going to say this about crypto. The idea that a country, the countries like that, they have to even start implementing them into the society. What does that say about the demand for something?
Well, the
Like, does
demand
this speak about the value and the power of crypto? That even in some of the more, we'll say more strict leaning Western countries have to implement them at some kind of level. They have to integrate them into the banking system because, or is this once again the nefarious means of their implementation to eventually kill cash so that we don't even have cash? And then obviously before, if they are going to kill cash, they have to have the thing systematized and regulated and all the laws. They have to be able to just flip a switch off on cash and turn on the valve of crypto and have everybody, just like the Social Security Act. I don't know if anybody has heard stories about that, but that was very similar. Except the people that turn in their actual physical silver certificates, and that's when they became federal bank notes, and that's interesting. But I know we're kind of crossing things. I'm just saying, first of all, that it speaks on the value of the actual currency, that it has to be implemented in the countries that like have the hardest and most regulations in the Western world. Like, let's not be. Well, that's why maybe they think it's a win in the community.
Part of that is the demand. Like, the demand is to break away from the centralized banking system. So, we heard from Kevin on this program, but every country in the world has its own central banking system, and all of them basically operate like the Fed, which is interesting because they're really like private, public. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's like mercantilism that like they had during the Italian Renaissance, that the banks basically ran the politicians, because the politicians or the kings or queens, whatever, would go to the banks for the fundings for the wars that would eventually. Yeah, except the difference now is the politicians go to the printing press to turn on the printing press to get the policy. Like, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, let's be honest. The government wants my point about them having the crypto ready was just that the government wants crypto so that all money is traceable all the time, at all moments, in all segments of all society. And basically, even a homeless guy is going to need a crypto wallet. And they'll probably give him it. Illegal aliens will have crypto wallets, as well as the right to vote, David, and a driver's license.
Yeah.
And health insurance. Was that the other one on the fucking Ask I Side With thing? Health insurance.
What about the health insurance? I don't remember this.
The I Side With
Yeah.
question they had, like, should illegal aliens get freaking in-state college?
Mm-hmm. Health insurance was one of them. Yeah, absurd. What a ridiculous.
Fines $300 a week. These dudes get it at a federal subsidized level. You think they should vote?
What? Yeah, what a ridiculous question.
Whatever. I know we're all over the place.
Just freaking.
Is it on your plastic penis, David?
No, it is on plastic penis, but it's CNN is terrible. CNN, the first.
Are they fake news, David?
Well, they are, but here's the worst part. I'm going to put this up. It's like the whole upper half of their website is an ad for some shit that nobody cares about. Who do they think they are running ads during their program?
FDI Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Oh, FDI Nova Scotia. You got free podcast airtime right there.
There you go. Nova Scotia. We got you covered. I'm sorry. Isn't that another country? Are we meddling in foreign elections right now? YouTube, I apologize. This was unexpected.
I said the other day, I can't wait to physically remove the bricks out of Google's buildings. I cannot wait this man for that company.
Ryan, we've talked about
for the first time. Yeah, it's the first time you're looking. Okay, it's like literally, it's probably been there for. Yeah, we just found it. Like, it's a new discovery.
Well, that's the thing. We talked about on the show about microplastic and nanoplastics in the balls of the male, but also now they've discovered them in human penises for the first time.
Was this in parts per million, David?
It's only parts per million.
I'll punch Neil deGrasse Tyson in the face with this. Just ball up this news article and send it to him through the internet.
Apparently, the penis is very like the heart. If you read the article, it'll explain it. This is a super zoomed in close image of microplastic in a penis. So we're displaying a penis right now.
Porn. We got porn on the program. First time on the program.
Yeah. You don't. I don't even know if that's true. That might not even be true. I don't remember. We've done a lot of stuff on this program.
Just you can't find the AI of Taylor Swift though, but they got fucking. Oh, I'm so happy we shoot some of this stuff. Oh, here we go. Microplastics are polymer filaments that can range less than 0.2 inches down to 1/25,000th of an inch. One micrometer. Anything smaller than a nanoplastic that must be measured in the billionth of a meter. They form anything smaller is a nanoplastic, which they're admitting there's nanoplastics as well, David. Remember that when they say microplastic, there's actually another level that's smaller.
Yeah, that's correct.
Microplastics.
That's correct.
So if they were to probably look at nanoplastics, they'd find more. Billionth. Either by chemically degrading or physically wearing them down into smaller pieces. Some minuscule particles can invade individual cells and tissues and major organs, experts say. And evidence is mounting they are increasingly present in our bodies. I thought it was only parts per million, David.
Well, they're increasingly present. There's like parts per.
He wasn't surprised to find microplastics in the penis. It is very vascular organ, like the heart. Very interesting. I wonder what happens if birth controls around that very same area, David, when it comes to your testosterone levels. The samples were taken from studying particulates, were diagnosed with an erectile dysfunction, and were in the hospital to undergo surgery to treat conditions.
So that's the interesting thing. What this doctor is doing is he's trying to find a link between erectile dysfunction and microplastics and nanoplastics in the penis.
Why, David? Why do we think that? Do we think that would cause a problem with that, David?
Well, it does change your cells, so I'm sure it can have other effects in your body.
What do you mean cells? Like it doesn't clearly, David. It can't individualize the cell with different.
Yeah,
7 different types.
Changes.
What was that, David? What was it? Go up a little bit.
7 different types of microplastics were detected with polyethylene terephthalate and polypropylene, the most prevalent according to the study.
Yeah, man. I wonder what polyester.
PET and PP.
I wonder what polyester's made out of.
Sure, that's a separate thing. For people who don't know, I think, Ryan, you've said this before in the past, but anytime you see poly, it's plastic.
Which comes from oil, climate change. You need to identify whether microplastics are linked to eating and if there's levels beyond which causes pathology, and I can't see. And which type of microplastics are pathologic. They're all fucking pathologic. They're all pathologic. You're telling me plastic in your body is healthy at any kind of... Why would we think... I don't know anything right there. We're not scientists. Maybe we should have Chris Cuomo ask the questions, David, because clearly he's more...
On what basis?
On what basis would I ask about if they are? Look, I'll tell you right now. I've worked with hazardous chemicals, Chris Cuomo, and YouTube. And every time you look at hazardous chemicals, there isn't one chemical that is not hazardous to your body. There isn't. It doesn't exist. The thing is it's a level of reactivity, right, David? It's not like things that they're very minute levels are still technically hazardous. You can ingest, once again, which is the joke on our program about Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that it's only parts per million, meaning that they're so small of segments that in the grand scheme of things, your body can flush it out and get rid of it. And then sometimes it's true. But when we're talking about bombardment, when your clothes are plastic, your food's in plastic, the air has plastic. The air has nanoplastics.
If you break down, go back to Neil deGrasse Tyson real quick. When he says it's only parts per million, he's 100% correct. It is only parts per million. So if it was a situation where one time in your life you drank out of a plastic water bottle, fear not, you'll be okay. But the problem is all of our food is in plastic. All of our drinks are in plastic. All of our clothes are made of plastic.
And once again, go further. That's just microplastic, because when you go to the billionth, David, it's a completely different name. So we're just out here assuming that when we see microplastics, they're only talking about this. So is this the first time they're really studying microplastics? And then what do they have to do to study the billion, the nanoplastics? Like, this is like now I feel like when they say microplastic, they need to say micro and nanoplastics, because if not, it's misinformation. Because what they're basically saying is there's even more plastic. When you read this article, I'm reading between the lines. What is it, a CNN article? Mm-hmm. I'm reading between the lines here. But when they say that when you look at it at the millionth, it's microplastic. Anything that you need the billionth is nanoplastic. So they didn't look for nanoplastic. They're just saying and insinuating that there's nanoplastics. And by default, if we have microplastics, if we're finding microplastics, there's probably nanoplastics. If there's microplastics.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't think that would
the
be
chances of. Yeah, I'd imagine the chances of just having microplastics seems unlikely.
Yeah. So I know it sounds like a silly misconception, but in the day and age when I have to define what a fucking woman is, there's micro and nanoplastics in everybody, which is even worse because if they're individual, they're invading our cells. This is probably worse than lead. Let's be honest. Now, hopefully some of those microplastics enter my skin cells and I stay young and youthful and I look like I'm freaking 25 forever. But well, maybe my dick will stay 25. I'm fine with that at 25 age.
This almost certainly is worse than lead because, like I said, plastic is literally everywhere. Lead's in some of the older, water systems in the United States, and it's in Lunchables. But outside of that, lead isn't super. It's not
and
super
baby
prevalent.
food and applesauce and cat food and
laundry
detergent.
But fuck them babies.
And cracker mix. Why is there made with real cheese? So what was it made before? Oh, good.
There's something else in this article too. At some point, it says something along the lines of there's I think it was 4 out of 5 men had microplastics. Granted, 4 out of 5 men, is that an average or was it the world's smallest study? I don't know. 4 out of 5 men had plastic in the tips, Ryan. Just the tips.
Okay, well, in the study that I referenced, they have them all in their balls. So,
create
more awareness about the presence of foreign bodies with human organs.
Well, hold on, Ryan. That sounds like a good thing. So, every man has plastic in his balls, but only 4 out of 5 in the tip.
All right, well,
not bad.
It only matters because that's where you come from, right, David?
We're trending in the right direction. Well, yeah.
Yo, they're trying to they're physically emasculating you. They're putting so much plastic in your balls that your penis don't work correctly.
It's weird. It's almost like the Y chromosome's disappearing.
I wonder why. It's only parts per million, though. A billion times a day. Yo, go try to buy cotton underwear. I bet you it's like twice the price of plastic underwear. Or you can't even find cotton.
I mean,
I bet you if you go to all those fancy stores, here's the thing, too. I forget who said, I heard on a podcast, they're like, I don't care where there's a conspiracy about them poisoning the air because they have to breathe the same air as we do. They do, but they can afford to filter it. The elites, I guarantee you, Jeff Bezos flew to Dubai to get his balls scanned, and then they operate on his balls to suck out all the microplastic. And go even further, this is just in the penis. I've seen people, especially influencers, they go to Dubai, for example, which is why I reference it, but there's microplastics in your breast as well as a man.
Here's honestly the bigger bottom line that everyone has microplastic in their body.
Except the rich, David, because they have the money to go and get the thing sucked out of them. I guarantee it. They're not getting all of it, but they have if you were to
they're getting
the average, they're going.
Blood transfusions.
They know about this, dude. Dude, if CNN is reporting this, how long has elite world-class top athletes known about microplastics? I bet you Josh Allen knows if he has microplastic in his penis or not, when those guys literally get their blood drawn for their testosterone levels. And if an athlete does that, you don't think like the top entrepreneurs or like, I don't know, some sadistic elitist prick? Do you think he's wearing the microplastic clothes, David? Do you think he's eating the microplastic meat, David?
Purest microplastic-free adrenochrome.
Yeah, like they're able to fly to New Zealand that probably has some of the best soil left in the world, or the Switzerland, or they go to some of these very rare countries that hasn't been raped and pillaged by these very same people and build their whole life there. It's interesting. They breathe the same air as us, though. They don't care. Yeah, they just have the private jet with a cabin filter that can suck out microplastics. They have all cotton, everything made with Egyptian 1,010 billion sewn. Do I sound crazy?
Well, you would sound crazy if it weren't for the fact that we're reading mainstream news articles about it. So, like, gone are the days of claiming this is a conspiracy. CNN's posting about it. You know what I mean? If it gets to the point where even CNN's like, okay, we got to talk about this. Is there a debate? Like, what's the debate to be had?
And the thing I'm noticing, this is actually in the red pill community, for the record. The testosterone thing, like, started. I found out about T levels technically about a lot of the hardcore numbers about how far testosterone has fallen. Like that, on average, your grandfather has more testosterone than you do today. Not at your age. If you test his blood and test your blood today, he could be 70 years old. And he has higher rates of testosterone than you do as an 18-year-old, as a 20-year-old, as a 30-year-old. George Washington's generation had like 4-digit testosterone numbers, they say. That era of people. After you fall, believe like 130, like there's, and here's the thing, other thing, like you hear all these numbers. The thing that's important is that it's directly tied to a man's mental health, is your level of testosterone, because it's literally the vital chemical in your body. So like if the main chemical, and that's the thing that gives you drive and ambitious and resilience and determination and focus. Literally, if you hold on to it, right? What do they tell us? Just go in the bathroom. If you hold on to that stuff for a couple of days, you might be a little more activated. You might be a little more urgent to go talk to that girl because you're not going to snap something. But they don't tell you this. They tell you it's actually the opposite. The thing that's promoted is the opposite. It's for you to be drained all the time of all your vital life essence that literally creates life. It's a problem. It's literally a problem. It's a problem for a lot of reasons. Like 1, it's unhealthy. 2, it's sadistic. 3, the idea that every man in America has genital and testicular cancer, and they're just not going to tell you that. They're just going to tell you that microplastics is found in a ball sack. That means we have cancer. Every male has testicular cancer in America. Where's the health epidemic? Global warming, though, right? This is funny, too, because it's Men's Mental Health Month or whatever, right? And then we're literally all finding out.
Hold on.
Psychologically.
Wait, June is Men's Mental Health Month?
It's one of them, or it was last month. But I think so. Look it up.
There's no way they paired Mental Health Month with Pride Month.
I mean, you can Google it, David.
That's hilarious irony.
But, I mean, because that's the thing. And if this was, look, in the other downs, I don't want to do this to men, but what do women's look like? Because I bet you it's because here's the thing. Why did he say he even started testing this? Because of men were coming in with problems. Yeah. What are women told when they have problems, David? They're told to go on birth control to regulate their hormones. When their hormones are probably all jacked up because of microplastics.
And then they piss it into the water.
And then they piss it into the water for me to drink it, to even mess up my estrogen levels, to mess up my testosterone with my plastic dick. But to go further back to the girls, go back to the girls. They're not studying this in women because women don't have those problems, right? If they're let's say they're a little dry because of hormones, there's a lube for that, right, David? There's little things that we skirt around, goes a long way.
Maybe.
Well, I'm just saying,
listen, I'll send an email out to. I'll send an email to Sparrow. We'll find out what he does.
Yeah. Oh my. Oh.
It was. Really, he said it. It wasn't. He said it. It wasn't me. All right. It was under his own admission. Maybe it was under duress. I don't know.
My wife has never.
Right.
Yeah, unless he goes in there and treats that place like Palestine, David. We just don't know about.
Just. All right.
He iron domes that. It's a shame they're not studying in women, was really my point, because women are probably just as fucked as we are. And then they just tell them to go on hormonal birth control. That's the same thing they're going to tell guys to go on this hormone to get the microplastic out of your dick. If there's anything else, global warming, if it's 2 degrees too hot, we have to leverage our whole economy. We all have to buy electric cars, but we all have genital cancer. We all have plastic in our private parts and crickets. But that's literally, when they talk about humans messing with the planet, there's literally the textbook definition of humans messing with the planet, because we mess with ourselves at it. Whatever. We've been talking about this so long, David. I'm sorry. It's just like to see it come full circle. It's in the mainstream. We've been talking about it for like fucking literally as long as we've had this program. I've brought this up as a reference point and us to have awareness, and the same thing this prick doctor's telling me to talk about. I bet you if I were to go to him 5 years ago, David, and tell him there's microplastics in my balls, they wouldn't believe me. And I also now urge everybody, when you go to your doctor as a guy, to tell them that you have microplastic in your penis and you want to know what they're going to do about it. So,
Well, they're going to do nothing.
well, I'm sure they'll wait for Pfizer to introduce nanobot technology. All right, speaking of that.
All right, Ryan, Kansas is suing Pfizer. Yes, all of Kansas. For a misrepresentation of the COVID vaccine. Now, we've talked about the secret vaccine courts, right? And how you can't hold vaccine companies liable. A bunch of loopholes and all types of shit. But what you can do is you can sue them for misrepresenting. And how did they misrepresent the Pfizer vaccine, Ryan? Do you remember all of the, not just the
safe and effective?
Not just the politicians, because the politicians don't represent Pfizer. So if a politician comes out and says it's safe and effective and you can't give your COVID to somebody else if you're vaccinated and all these things. The politicians can say that. Ben Shapiro can say that, speaking of Ben Shapiro. And that doesn't affect it. We had CEOs, we had reps from Pfizer going around the world telling everyone that if you take our vaccine, you can't get COVID and you can't transmit COVID. And it was a flat out lie. Now, there's worse things than that. The fact that it's killing people, it's giving people heart attacks, it's giving people turbo cancer, right? The things that we've talked about on this show. But you can't
unprecedented levels in young people, David.
But you can't sue them for that. You can't sue them for that. So what do? You hold them liable in some other way. So I like this. I like what Kansas is doing. It's an interesting technique. I look forward to seeing how this plays out. And because this, at the end of the day, Ryan, this is going to set precedents, right? And precedence is so important. If this can be done, how are we going to be able to use this to our advantage? You know what I mean? Can we do this with social media companies from state to state to state?
Well, if that's the case, we could sue social media for misrepresenting that it's a social media site and not a government agency.
Well, you could say that they were running around telling everybody it was a platform when they're not. They're not acting like publishers. And then if you can prove
they're a government-funded program,
if you can prove they're shadow banning, for example, which is of course a crazy conspiracy. If you can prove that, and this has precedence, then why wouldn't Florida be able to say, you know what, YouTube, shove it up your ass. You're not a platform. You owe us money. At least it's going to do something. You know what I mean? At least it gives the threat.
Yeah, David. Once again, I mean, this has been the argument. If you come up with enough charges, you can get them to get stuck on something. This also makes me wonder, like, what will happen if the state will actually just kick this up to a higher court and it will go to not the Supreme Court, but it could go to SCOTUS, but this might go through all the circuit courts and all that shit. We're not going to know about this for at least a year, probably. At least this will be after post-election. But no, this is the other thing too. This needs to happen in every state because honestly, they all lied.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they completely.
I mean, and the worst
misrepresented what the vaccine was.
Yeah, the worst part is the politicians were in on the vaccine thing, though. So, if we're even the thought of even suing Pfizer for misrepresentation, what will we do to our politicians then? If the company was misrepresenting the vaccine, what about any politician that was pushing the vaccine?
Well,
or some of Dr. Fauci's, well, you could maybe vote him out of power, Dave, unless the elections aren't safe and secure.
Well, there was the most recent was the most safe and secure, if I remember correctly, right?
Forever and ever, right? Yeah, and the other thing is Fauci, by his own admissions, made up the 6-foot rule guideline social distancing thing to prevent the spread of the thing. And how often do we hear that as
no, Ryan, you're misrepresenting.
Standard.
He didn't make it up. He doesn't know where it came from.
So it was made up by somebody.
But he didn't make it up. He just doesn't remember who said it.
Dave,
it's science. Trust the scientists, Ryan. Trust the science.
Dave,
what are you questioning on what basis?
Dave, he's the head of the organization to ask about the guidelines.
Could you imagine being in a leadership role and then being like, I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I take responsibility, but somebody. I don't know. I don't know who did it. I don't know where it came from. I don't take responsibility for this. Why are you questioning me on this, Rand Paul?
The NIH did not receive any funding, Mr. Paul. A doctor, a guy that's a doctor. I know he's just an eye doctor or something, but a guy that understands medicine at least a little. He's not just a lawyer, David.
Unbelievable. The whole situation is fucking ridiculous. Yeah,
Look, and they killed it.
I'm
Dude,
looking forward to this.
They killed it. They killed the people. It's not a misrepresentation. No, they didn't misrepresent it. They knew exactly what they were doing. That's the problem. It's not a misrepresentation if it's a plan. How can it be a misrepresentation? They told you they were going to do this in 2019, David, right? At that one convention in New York City.
Well, they did when they said that they had a world pandemic. Oh man, I wish I could find that again. I don't remember what that was called. I'll see if I can pull that up at some point.
Yeah, it's just conspiracy. Just bury it. YouTube, you fucking.
But
pricks.
For those who don't know, we talked about it on the show. There's a video about it, and we talked about it on the show. But before COVID hit, there was literally a global leading, of course, because why wouldn't it be global of global business leaders and politicians to see what would happen in a simulated pandemic breakout. This happened a year before COVID. Then COVID hit. Then all of a sudden people were dying left and right. Then don't worry, vaccine will save the day. Oh no, years later we're finding out vaccine was and is killing people. Also, it didn't work. Also, you could still transmit the virus. Also, you could still get the vaccine. Like, if you could still get the disease, you could virus, you could still transmit the virus. And by the way, the vaccine kills you and it's going to stop your heart or give you cancer. Who knows which.
Is that or the microplastics, David? So
but you can't you can't sue them for the cancer or the heart attacks. You can only sue them because they were misleading in their arguments. I'm going to take what I can get at this point, Ryan.
It's not misleading, David. They told you they were going to do it. So how can you sue them for the thing they told you they were going to do?
Because they ran around and told everybody that you're not going to get COVID if you take the vaccine, and you're not going to be able to transmit COVID if you have the vaccine, and those are both outright lies. The problem is here's where they're going to struggle. They're going to have to prove that they had intent to lie and not that they were just wrong.
What if they just use the Emergency Authorization Act?
Well, they can't do anything. They're Pfizer. They would have to, at that point, right? They'd have to lobby to the government to make them do such a thing.
And why just do Pfizer when Johnson & Johnson was the one with verified blood clots?
Well, because again, they can't sue over that. I don't know if they're going after Moderna and Johnson
also
too, but
David, let's be real here. We can. They're just not. There is Nuremberg codes that were violated.
Yeah, but here you go. See, you always get hung up on these Nuremberg codes. Ooh, they forced an injection.
Dave, that's like the standard, David. There was world wars. World wars had happened. Give the Nuremberg.
They happen all the time.
People were dying of mustard gas by the hundreds of thousands in afternoons in World War I.
That's right.
Dude, I never thought history was a superpower until a day ago. I'm just really realizing how few people actually realize what 100 years ago was like. Really. Instagram did so good at making you people forget about life.
Right, let's get into
just take the shot, David. You only need 7 boosters to stop you from the latest variant that was cooked up in a fucking misrepresentation. We should be bombing China for poisoning the fucking world.
They're working on their 9th shot. Actually, let's get into this since we're talking about vaccines. Who better to talk about after talking about vaccines than RFK Jr.? Couple of reasons this is relevant, Ryan. One, the debate is coming up on the 27th. We will be here to live stream. RFK Jr. is not going to be at the debate. Neither is our representation here. Tomorrow we're having the vice president candidate on from the Libertarian Party. Their candidate is not going to be there as well. This seems to be the standard. But here's interesting. This is more specific to RFK Jr. I like this post. This is from Being Libertarian on X, and I think this is a really well broke down. It's interesting too because they don't talk about. I haven't seen a lot of anything about the Libertarian Party candidate not being at the debate, even though that's Being Libertarian. But they talked about RFK Jr. But either way, they say why RFK Jr. did not qualify for the debate. He needed 4 national polls over 15% to qualify. They say Kennedy gave them 5, including CNN's poll. CNN's the one hosting the debate.
He gave the people hosting the debate their own number, and they rejected it.
That's right.
Oh my god!
But
safe and secure, David. Most safe and secure election ever.
But there's a debate standard, right? And these are preset. So CNN, even though CNN's hosting the debate, and even though CNN's own poll shows he's polling above 15%, it's not enough. He also gave him a Harvard-Harris poll, Forbes, Monmouth, and Quinnipiac. The Monmouth poll has been arbitrarily excluded. They just rejected it. And it says they will not accept Forbes or Harvard polls at all. It's just not one of the polls that they go off of.
Harvard, does trust the college people?
Yeah. Approved polls that have Kennedy at 15% when accounting for the margin of error are also excluded.
Interesting.
The next Monmouth poll that would have counted excluded Kennedy as an option entirely. So one of the polls that they do accept didn't even have RFK Jr. as one of the options. So yeah, it's weird. This guy's not even polling at 15%. It's like, okay, well, what did he poll at? Well, we didn't ask. So like, so of course he didn't poll at 15%. He's not even there. He doesn't exist. Ballot access. Kennedy had to have ballot access in enough states to garner 270 electoral votes. He has signatures for 310 electoral votes. So he hit on the electoral votes margin. But the states only certified...
What was that one, Dave? I'm sorry.
What's that?
What the electoral vote one? What was that?
He has enough ballot access to reach the 270 mark. So you don't have to have ballot access in 50 states, but you do have to have enough to reach the 270 win the election. So like if
it was like 30 states out of 50, he could still like technically
as long as he could.
So why?
Yeah, as long as he could hit 270,
which is fair, right? You would assume, David.
Yes, but they're not certified yet. Only 89 have certified, and 210 are waiting to be certified.
Why?
They're just waiting.
They're waiting for the debate to happen.
Well, they haven't. Maybe they just haven't gotten around to it, Ryan. I mean, that's their only job is to certify elections. So maybe they're busy.
It takes like 10 years to like certify. We didn't certify you last year, so you haven't been certified for 90 days. So you're gonna miss this debate.
It says CNN requires them to be certified at midnight on a federal holiday. Biden and Trump assumed to be nominees for their parties, but are also not officially on the ballot in any state.
Good point. Technically, right?
Yeah, so by CNN's own rules, no one would have qualified for the debate. Kennedy says that he cannot file a suit against CNN over the debate until the FEC complaint he filed is resolved. His campaign says that the FEC stated there might be merit in his complaint and won't dismiss it, but they haven't reached a decision. So they're taking their time to reach the decision, so you can't file a lawsuit either.
I'm sure they'll wait until after the election, David, for to get back to him.
The other thing that's interesting about this too, though, is to go back to the electoral.
Why is Ben Carson trending? And Adderall.
I feel like
look at these NATO. Sorry.
Ben Carson can't trend.
He's literally trending, David.
No, he can't. Ryan,
you know what Sorry, David, go ahead.
No, there's one more thing that's interesting. New York is trying to get RFK Jr. off the ballot entirely.
Oh,
well, why wouldn't you,
right?
Do that. Well, sure you can. Well,
David,
sure.
he's running. No. Because he's running for president, David. I can vote for myself for president. I'm not off the ballot.
You could be a write-in, sure. You're not an option, though. You're not an option on the ballot. They're going to try to pull RFK from the ballot.
They will pull him. You know what RFK reminds me of, David?
How many electoral votes does NY have?
Isn't it 30? 27?
I'm curious.
21? I also was curious how many followers RFK has on social media.
Well, you would think this would be easier to find. Literally said how many electoral votes. Come on, are you serious? This should be 3 seconds. New York. Hello. 28. So technically he could be off. He could be off New York and still have enough to win. That's all I wanted to find.
But if he's on the New York, it's kind of like the whole thing. You would assume like Georgia, New York, Florida, Texas, California, Chicago, Illinois, rather. Detroit's probably got a decent, Michigan, rather. Pennsylvania is a state, right? Like those whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's important. Those are the ones. No, I know, but they kind of drive the region, though. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like north of like. I only bring up Pennsylvania because they were a swing state the last 2 elections, basically.
Yeah,
which was never a case. Yeah,
they kind of get considered a swing state, but they're really a blue state. Let's be honest. They're very New York-esque.
New York light.
They're
the
like
thing with RFK,
slightly more pro-hunting New York. That's basically it.
Yeah, they're New York with open carry. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
I'll say this, David, about the RFK thing. He is very reminiscent of something we've heard on this very program. That you send somebody there peacefully to ask for your rights back. They will take you off the ballot. They will wait. Do you know, a little history lesson? I'm not a historian, YouTube. But I'm pretty sure that the founding fathers went to England and had redress of their grievance. And England told them to pound salt. So, now, I'm not going to downplay RFK is admirable in all his character, and he's jacked at 60 and probably on TRT. Hopefully not, but you know what I mean.
4-digit testosterone levels for sure.
4-digit T level, and vote based on their T, dude. I will say this: Dave and I have come on the program, and we've said various things about RFK, and I'll always stand true by it. That's that guy. Literally, the only reason I don't like him is his policies. Like some things I don't agree with, but that's the dude. We need people like him in government.
Well, the only problem
those are actually the people we need. All our politicians to be like this.
RFK is a little. He's slightly lefty on guns, and he's a little lefty on abortion. Outside of that, I don't hate the guy. I don't have anything major against him.
He's like the old Democrat, like old school Democrat, like the old blue collar Democrat is what I would call him. The one that was like, because these are the same people that think that raising taxes and having the rich pay for things is possible. Now, granted, YouTube should pay. If they have as much money as countries, they should fucking pay, considering they're a government entity. So take their money.
Well, that makes them tax exempt.
It's weird how that works. Well, sure, David. Just take all the wealth from. I thought about this, and then we'll go on to whatever. This is a completely different topic. Have you ever heard the thing that it's like 10% of people at an organization actually do like 70% of the work a lot of time?
Sure.
Extrude that at a society level with businesses.
Yeah, it's definitely true. It's true all the way up for sure.
So 10% of businesses are paying 80% of the taxes, and they're shamed for being more successful. But the business that gets to break even every year and write off all their losses doesn't have the stresses of being successful.
I guess they have the stresses of being unsuccessful.
This would be called the Pareto distribution, if I'm not mistaken. But.
Ryan, there's a new Supreme Court ruling. Since we were just talking about firearms. This is a tricky subject, but I know where I stand on this. I believe we have a similar stance. Now, I'm gonna preface this when we talk about domestic abusers, right? We're talking about non-convicted people. So I want to be very clear. This is somebody calls in and says, "Hello, I am under the threat of violence," and then the police show up and take away his rights. It's a tricky subject because sometimes it's right. And by right, I mean sometimes the guy is a complete fucking lunatic and he's literally abusing his wife. And I this is where it gets so tricky because like where is the line? You know what I mean? For me, when you're talking about something as serious as taking someone's rights away, there has to be a conviction. It can't be anything other than that.
Well, someone say the Constitution already states that, David.
This is to broaden this out. This is red flag laws.
Yes, 100%. Which is why you should be against red flag laws because it violates the Fourth Amendment and due process, which is basically where you're heading, David. Because the tricky thing is like the idea of the red flag laws, at least when you hear the reasoning why they should be implemented, is that they're trying to prevent violent things from happening to people. They're trying to they're trying to take away the person's rights instead of burying somebody's body. And this is why we have these conversations. Honestly, this is the whole civil discussion on. And then when we have the civil discussion, you bring up why we have the Second Amendment. You bring up why we have the jury of our peers and why you have the right to a jury trial and the right to due process and the right to not be convicted of the same crime twice. Like, when we're not just supposed to, like, in the middle of the night, allow our elected officials to just write these things into law and supersede the will of the people. So now I know nowadays it's really hard for people to have independent thought and be driven and be and have conviction in their beliefs and not socially fall to all what the internet and what their family shames them into thinking. But I'm not just going to sit by when people lose due process and think that's not going to happen to me. We've seen it do it to the President Donald Trump. They spied on him during his campaign, everything. Like, the extrusion of what they'll do to somebody that they hate or what they think is against the will of the system. And once again, by system, I mean, some of these people are just doing their job, quote unquote, because they have a pension and health insurance and a family.
I hate that. That is my,
you know,
I know you too, but
and
that is like my most hated phrase.
What?
They're just doing a job.
Yeah, just doing our job. This is what we do.
Just doing our jobs.
You know, and you're allowed to say that until they come for you. And then the people that come for you and drag you to a concentration camp are telling you they're just doing your job. Except now there's not gulags, David. It's the shadow banning. It's a social credit score. It's the shame. It's the death of the dark winter if you're unvaccinated. It's the, like, how many people are socially shamed into getting vaccines? They didn't even want to get.
Was it most people?
I would say everybody.
Like, well, there's people
because I don't see people talking about getting a flu shot like they do the COVID vaccine, for example. It was never like in the conversation piece when you were sitting down at dinner. Like, people got uninvited to things because they wouldn't wear a mask, and we now find out that masks don't do a fucking thing.
Well, we've also found out that that states are saying that more so you can't even cover your face.
Why, David? Why?
Well, because
hate speech.
Ryan, what if it's hard because if you commit a crime, so the way CNN was it CNN? I can't remember. Yahoo. The way they put this was because it's hard to indicate someone who's done a crime, right? It's hard to decipher someone who's done a crime or has engaged in hate speech. It was in the headline. Like why those specific two things?
Oh, David, and first of all, how are we going to flag these people? Like, you're acting as if there's cameras all over the place to scan somebody's face in a database, and then.
Well, and not only that, but let's be clear. If somebody is engaging in, if this is insinuating right to the right because they're talking about hate speech, right, and that's always indicated in inference to be a right wing thing, right? Like, when you look at some of these groups that have like the face coverings, they're feds. They're always feds. Like always, like 100%. More times is it feds than it is plastic in the tips, Ryan. It's always feds.
It's 5 out of 5 times.
It's 5 out of 5 apples.
Tips.
It's only 4 out of 5 plastic and dicks. It's 5 out of 5 feds if they have face coverings.
David, at this point, I'm just really happy that we have developed a method, a system, and we have promoted our own content and our own narrative and our own stricken image and like what we see. And the main premise of our show is these people know exactly what they're doing. This isn't an accident. This is psych warfare. This is fourth dimensional warfare. This is World War III warfare. This is the Hegelian dialectic. This is cross spectrum dominance. It's all the stuff that like we've heard years and years, and Alex has told us, and various other people have broken things. And I just come from the Alex school of thinking. But I say all that to say this, David. It's really nice because we can actually go back in our own database that we've collected and harvested and have our own document cams. We don't have to let the matrix feed us the information. We have our own information. We have our own database. And like to just come full circle in some of this. Now, granted, David, let's be honest, behind closed doors, we knew this was already happening, right? We just didn't promote and produce content and do what we do. But now that we're a few years in the space here, it's just interesting to see just like the mainline emissions, you know? I mean, there's astronauts stuck in space with Boeing right now, but a month and a half ago, 2 of their quality control scientists committed suicide, allegedly.
Well, yes, after coming forward with complaints against Boeing.
You know, and it's just, you know, I'm just...
One was set to testify and go on a speaking tour against Boeing, and he killed himself. Yeah. Like, you don't set yourself up for, like, this is one of the telltale signs of suicide that's up and coming, right? Like, you're canceling appointments, you're whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you're not scheduling yourself 6 months out with things to do and then killing yourself.
Yeah. It's just interesting. I'm just supposed to couple the things together during the election year, during the thing. Bowen was getting bailout money during COVID. They're buying steel from China during the time when we're like, hey, don't buy things from China because of COVID. Like, it's just like, how many bridges blow up, boats fly in, like crash into bridges. We
After
have cell phone outage.
Was it like a 2-minute blackout or something?
Yeah, we have cell phone outages, and then later it comes out that people's data was hacked. We have spy balloons over the country. We have poison spiders that come from China, but they're just magically in East America all of a sudden during an election year. The border's wide open, but I'm told that it's not wide open. But there's people, like, if the economy's bad, it's my fault. But I'm not a business owner, and I don't make policies, David. And I don't print money. But the thing's my fault.
You should buy more stuff, though.
While at the same time, the same people that tell me all that are telling me to, like, hey, you know, vote for me for change. But the people that we keep voting for keep giving us the same thing. And the guy that alleges the opposite, they're jailing him on 70 counts of things that they have extruded and changed the laws and the rulings on before, said what you can and can't use as a defense. And the people that are his allies are also going to jail that speak out against him and speak on the internet, for example, and having their private property taken, which is supposed to be, let's be honest, protected by law, David. Like, one of the things Congress shall not infringe on is the right of private property, clearly. But if it's corporation, is it a person, David? Because corporations aren't people, which is why they can buy politicians in elections.
That's what they say.
I know I just monologued, but I was just kind of like buffing our chest here a little bit to just say that, like, everybody should make their own news program at this point, because they will come for everybody. They're coming for everybody. We're not going to be able to beat the AI. Like, I don't know. Like, we need people to speak out now more than ever. It's not even about awareness of microplastic in your dick anymore. They're going for broke. They're going for gold. You don't want silver. You don't want silver. David, can you pull up the VR? Can you pull up the VR cow thing?
VR cows?
Yeah, I want to do that. My daughter was watching a YouTube video my daughter was watching a YouTube video my daughter was watching a YouTube video the other day and came across this dude that was talking about how he's seen cows with virtual reality headsets on. And like a good person, David, I just believed immediately that this was correct. But I Googled anyways, David.
Here's something interesting, man. All these articles are from 22. So this is a 2-year-old. 2 years old? Is this right? How did we miss this 2 years ago?
Well, sure, David. We were covering probably talking about the monkey farm, not the VR. Not that. You didn't know ad read today, David.
No. Hello.
Hello. Ooh, I can hear you, can't see you. Oh, you're catching up. Lag.
You can't see me?
Oh, you're there. You were laggy. Lagosaurus.
Am I back?
You're back.
Still super laggy? I'm
A little
back.
laggy. Lagalicious, dude.
Weird.
Lagalicious. Interesting. We're taking on the program, David, you know. Ooh, it says we're only on one stream right now. Total one. YouTube X we're not on. Interesting.
Still laggy.
A little laggy. Yeah, all right. Well, VR cows headset, if you can't, whatever.
Nope.
I forget the reasoning. They said that the cows were wearing VR headsets because they wanted to simulate like they were outside or something in the winter, so that they were more content for all the things that they use cows for. And
yeah, I don't know what's going on. I can't get this to pull up.
yeah, the VR cow headset. I texted this to Dave. I'm not gonna beat this to death. I've told you guys, I've come on the program. I said that VR is where I get off video games. It's where I get off technology. Black screen. Yep, here, there. Feels like they're outside. Zach Bryan, I love that guy, mostly because all of his music's about his mistress. Yeah, VR headset. I just told Dave, and I've told you guys, this is where I get off. I'm not participating. I'm not getting in VR for a job. I'm not doing virtual reality. I'm not using augmented reality. I'm not fucking with my psyche. I'm not messing with my consciousness. I don't care if it's tied to a job or promotion, education. I am not doing it. And then I see articles like this. Now, dated as well as David mentioned, this is from January the 7th of 2022. So if they will put virtual reality on a fucking cow, what does that say about you? Just use inductive reasoning. If they can brainwash a cow to think they're outside, what is that thing doing to you? And then to go further, David, we seen last week, we talked about, what was it, the WEF, World Economic Forum or something, said that most people, basically people, there will be the have and have nots when it comes to traveling. And some people are going to be able to afford to go on vacation, and other people can just go on your Oculus.
Yeah, no, Oculus is what, like $300? Imagine all the vacations you can go on. You can go on a different vacation every day.
Vacation subscription, David, $29.99 a month. You can see all the 7 wonders of the natural world, David.
It's a lot cheaper than a private jet.
A lot cheaper. Why would you want a private jet? Why go through all the effort to get a jet, David, or be a content creator? Spotify, you know, instead of getting a private jet and living a life and eating meat, you can just eat virtual reality. You'll just have virtual reality on. You'll eat pills, and it will just look like meat, David. Your body will think it's meat because it saw meat, and it's
Could I go see Stonehenge? That'd be cool.
Well, I just have this virtual reality headset on when I am intimate with people so that I can just fantasize about it. I mean, look, if they'll put it on a cow and brainwash the cow, because this says things about your psychology. Like there's a thing in psychology that when you ruminate and when you think about a bad thing, you actually biochemically produce stress hormones and the chemicals needed. And it's basically your body reliving that experience as if you were living it in that exact moment. So what is virtual reality doing to you? Now, granted, these companies pay scientists and they pay dopamine. They're designed to extract dopamine from you and your money. So to think that the VR companies don't know what they're doing and it's by accident is a lie. Don't get in virtual reality. I don't know. Will it take a monkey wearing virtual reality headsets? Will it take, like, what will it take now? We have a visual of what they're envisioning you as cows, as just little beef cows with virtual reality. Sit inside, act like you're outside. They put them on cows to do that. They're selling them to you as well. And to go further, actually, it's not all nefarious. This is actually very cool to do to cows. And if it works, amazing. We could probably do this to lots of animals and give them, like, we might get healthier food out of it, right? Because it's not stressed. And like this, It's actually very cool in a way. It's just sad that's happening to your friends and neighbors. They're literally raising you like cattle.
Dude, look at that.
Look at that. Raising you like cattle, like a good little beef cow. So, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. It's just crazy. The mask ban was funny, dude. Yeah, it's in a different country too.
That is so crazy.
In Moscow.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah. Interesting. And look, like I said, this may be a very creative way to solve a lot of the problems that we have with livestock or dealing with farming. I'm ignorant to this. I know a farmer, I could talk to them, but this could be a creative solution for a lot of things we have, but to just think that it's a good analogy. We talked about the astronauts getting stuck in space. Spotify was saying, don't worry, don't bother about making content, David. It's too hard. Just give up. Just give up, David.
Kind of. He said that there's what was it? The content creators, there's no money.
There's no money in
content creation.
Well, why don't you pay them more then?
Well, I think
social media makes billions of dollars, David. They're $1 trillion organization. I'm sure they can pay their content creators more money.
It says the cost of creating content is close to zero.
And that may be because the production value, right?
It's as much or as little as you need it to be, but there's no doubt. Like, I think it's Mr. Beast. Even though, like, technically his whatever is worth like billions of dollars, right? Like, if he were to sell all of his likeness, it'd be a $50 billion purchase. You know what I mean? But he claims he doesn't even really have that much money because he just puts all his money back into creating his videos. So, like, I'd love the Spotify CEO and Mr. Beast to sit down and have a conversation about how content is close to zero to create when he's spending tens of millions of dollars creating one YouTube video.
Right. Like, how is Mr. Beast able to even... Well, now, granted, he may make that from advertisements and other things. But if there's no money in content creation, why did Spotify sign Joe Rogan a $300 million contract?
No, that's not, the CEO of Spotify isn't saying there's no money in creating content. He's saying the cost to create the content is zero. So the people who create the content have no investment into it. Which is flat out wrong. I mean, people have millions of dollars in studio spaces and stuff. To say that there's no cost in creating content is absurd.
Is he saying that, like, hold on. Just making sure I understand this. He's saying that the return on the cost is zero, or that since it costs nothing to make content, because I can just do what I'm doing.
Yep, it costs nothing to make content.
So he's saying that's a bad thing?
No, I think he's just saying, as a generality, most people don't have any money into making content, which is totally untrue. I mean,
okay.
Literally.
So, do you think this is a justification?
I think it's a justification for not paying that much, because Spotify tends to not pay its artists very well.
Like a fifth of a penny.
Yeah, per play or whatever it is. And the
well,
CEO
electricity is definitely free, David.
So the CEO of Spotify is coming out and saying, "Well, you guys don't have any investment in that anyway." Which is
we'll just let artificial intelligence make it for us.
Go literally go to a studio. Let's take music, because Spotify really got its roots in music, right? Go to a music studio and ask a producer how much all of his equipment is. It's not zero. It's not close to zero. Fuck, there's
That's
some
not
of,
even his time.
some of these people are using microphones that are thousands of dollars just for one microphone, and they have 20 microphones in the studio. You know what I mean? Not to mention
And to
all
go
of
for
the musical equipment, the production software. It's not.
what
zero.
about the product,
Nowhere near
David?
zero.
What about the product? There's no cost to content creation. You have no investment. But if they were to grab and make the golden thing, Spotify's the first one to make it $1 trillion and make all the money off it. Oh, there's no value here. Oh, wait, there's value here. You laid a golden egg. Lay another one. Oh, no value. Oh, hey, next person. Hey, lay a golden egg. Lays another one. Oh, can't lay a third. Next person. Lay a golden egg. Why, if there's no cost in there, why are you in business, Spotify? There is money in there. I mean, isn't it ran by ad revenue anyways? That's the justification I'm hearing for them pulling things off streaming platforms. The ad revenue. I'm convinced that Spotify and stuff get money from WEF and NATO and federal organizations too. Why wouldn't it be the FCC? Why wouldn't it be? Just because Joe Rogan can smoke blunts and say fuck, I'm supposed to think the FCC isn't listening to that to make sure that they're not garnering, gatekeeping information.
I mean, somebody's setting policy over there. There's things you can and can't say on Spotify, just like anywhere else.
He removed podcasts. Remember the Alex podcast?
Ask Joe Rogan.
Yeah. No money though. No money. There's no money. Yeah, I don't know. Dave, your little science lesson. Do you want to just touch base on that quick and then entertainment?
What was this?
Your little science lesson about how the Earth's slowing down, which is adjusting the weather.
No, there's yes, interesting. There was an article.
There's in our text thread.
Yeah. So I've had a theory for quite some time that climate change isn't climate change in the way that people are being told it's climate change. Think of it this way, and I'm sure everybody watching can definitely agree with this. Imagine being young enough to trick or treat. Because this is how I remember it. But imagine being young enough to trick or treat. Brian, when you were, say, 10 years old and you'd go out trick or treating, is as it normally is at the end of October, right? In Buffalo, what would the weather be like? There'd be snow all over the place.
I've definitely, as a child, had my Halloween costume was on the outside of my winter outfit.
Yes.
I have photographs of it as a child. The 90s photographs too, David. Like the odd skies ones.
Okay, if you actually have photos of that, I'd love to see one, because literally, people nowadays might not believe us, but when we were kids growing up, it would be very cold and it would be snowing and there'd be already a lot of snow on the ground. Now I'm talking about in Buffalo, but this is late October. Fast forward till today, there's times we don't have snow on the ground yet for Christmas, and you're not really getting very cold until January, February, and then by the time March rolls around, it used to be springtime. Now it's not springtime anymore. It's still winter. Beginning of April, you might start to warm up a little bit. So now we're starting to get spring. So really what happened is it's not that it's warming or cooling. It's that the seasons have shifted. And this is my analysis of it. The seasons have shifted. It's not that it's hotter or colder. It's just that it's delayed. So when we used to be used to October, wintertime is what it would feel like. Now it's not wintertime until late December. The only reason that would happen,
summer's you're saying the dates just shift. We're a month behind of what we used to be.
Yep. So instead of late October and winter and then early March spring, it's now late December winter and then early April would be spring. Or mid-April would be spring. That's just seems to be what has happened. It just seems like the seasons have just shifted forward a little bit, or backward, however you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The only way that would happen is if the orbit around the sun has changed, because that's really what a season is, right? It's depending on what.
I thought from us driving. I thought seasons are dependent on how much gasoline I use, David.
Nope, that's not it. Okay. So depending on where the Earth is located to the sun, it's going to be closer or farther away, and depending on its rotation, right? So that's how you get rotation is day and night. Orbit is actual seasons in the year. This is very basic stuff. So the only way you would have that would be a change in the orbit around the sun. Now, I've said this for a little while now as I've observed the seasons shift, not climate change, seasonal shift. As I've said this, I've been told, no, it's literally impossible. It cannot happen. Impossible. So then I'm on Google and I am just going through different headlines and stuff, and I see I see this headline, and I literally, this is on space.com, which has to be legit. It's a .com.
Do we see this? Not to sidetrack here, but do we see this Twitter thing right behind you about Ramaswamy being VP for Trump? No, nobody. Okay.
Yeah, I did see that. We're gonna definitely want to talk about that.
Sorry.
But yeah, I was told that the orbit around the sun can't shift, can't be different, and then I'm going through and I'm on Google and I see the rotation of Earth's inner core is slowing down. Decades worth of seismic data confirms the rotation of Earth's inner core moving slower than the planet's surface. Now, who would have thought that would have been? Well, I guarantee if you would have said that 10 years ago, scientists would have been like, no, the core can't stop changing.
We have no idea what.
Well, that's the bigger picture. Is
or backtracking.
Everyone always says trust the science, trust the science. People don't know what they don't know, and that's not. I didn't hear what you said.
It says backtracking. Is it spinning backwards? On what basis?
I don't know. You clearly said something. I didn't hear what you said though.
Backtracking. The study confirms that since 2010, the inner core has been slowing down or backtracking.
I don't know if it's lagging or what.
Okay.
Backtracking. Listen, at the end of the day, scientists, we keep getting told just trust the science, trust the science, trust the scientists. But the scientists don't really know as much as they think they know. And it's okay to not know things. The problem is when someone doesn't know something, but we're being told we have to trust them anyway. So I don't know. I just saw this and thought it was interesting. The fact that the Earth's inner core is spinning, this is another thing that would have been told is totally impossible, can't happen, and yet here it is. So I don't know. This isn't anything new. People learn new things all the time. It's a very cliche to say, and we've certainly said it, but back in the day, it was very normal to think that the Earth was flat. Back in the day, it was normal to think that everything orbited around the Earth. But as you learn more and study more, then you learn different things. We know now that we have a round Earth that rotates around the sun. That's fine that they didn't know back then. But imagine back then being told trust the science and then finding out that it's wrong. Or worse than that, being told trust the science, and if you disagree with the science, that we're going to jail you, we're going to hang you, whatever. And this is when we get into the problems of
and that's literally their argument for religion as well, David, to go further. That's literally one of the things the left likes to, not to get in party politics, but like people push all the time. Well, they did it with religion, and it's like, well, we do it now. It's just at the state level. Like your state's the new God. Trust the science is literally trust the Bible. That's when you said that through COVID. You acted very religiously, holier than thou, right? Throwing stones in glass houses and playing the morality police that I was killing people, even though you're the one locking old grandparents to die alone in nursing homes. Andrew Cuomo, you piece of shit. And your brother's got long COVID from a vaccine that he pulled.
Don't Chris Cuomo tell me question science on what basis? On the basis of know your history when science has been constantly wrong, and it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah, don't.
But it's not okay to be wrong and be unquestionable. That's not okay.
No diddy on that, dude. I agree with you. All right, two things we're out of here, David. Decembertainment this week. David, your old lady likes the Japanese culture.
Yeah.
Have you ever had these ramen things?
Does it have the little ball in it and you push the ball?
Yeah.
We did have those. Yeah.
Ah, so cool. Got them at Wegmans. They're kind of expensive. They're like $4 a pop. Obviously, they're imported. But there's a candy store at the mall that has the rest of them.
So what you're saying is in Japan they're like $22.
Yeah, probably. It's pretty cool. It comes this little blue ball in there is actually in the top normally, and this comes with a cap. You take off, you break the thing out of there, and then you push down on this, and it goes, and it pops in there, and then it, like the carbonation, I guess, sits in the label, or like you don't see it, but it's on top, and when you break the seal, it forces it in there and it carbonates it instantly. Cool. It's just cool. Melody showed me. She's seen it on YouTube video or something. They taste kind of good, actually. I kind of dig it. I don't drink a ton of pop.
The little ball has more force necessary than you'd think.
Yeah, I actually didn't understand it at first, and I thought I was gonna have to go in the back and get like a just to pop this thing in there. But I figured it out. It was cool. And not to mention, in a day and age where the things, especially about the internet, is about unboxing and having this experience when you enjoy something. Such a simple thing to just go was just a cool experience, and they taste kind of good. We tried the strawberry. This is the sangria original or whatever. Pretty good. So I'm glad that you guys tried them, and I figured my little sister also likes Japanese culture, and I asked her about it, and she knew about it too. So it's just kind of cool.
She all into the anime and shit.
Yeah. My true Decembertainment this week, David. Maybe you've seen or you didn't see if you were living under a fucking rock in the hip hop world. But Kendrick Lamar performed his pop out tour on Juneteenth in Compton. Now, I'm not black, right? And I have just been an avid hip hop fan for basically my whole life. That was cool shit. I watched the concert on the internet. He played Not Like Us 6 times in a row, which is the song of Straight Pedophile.
So that's the headline I saw, is that he played Not Like Us back to back to back to back.
Yeah, so he opened with he played all the diss tracks during the beef. He had Crips and gang members, and you could go on other hip hop. I don't want to misrepresent gang activity, but apparently there was gangsters and killers on the stage with ball players and rappers. And in a day and age, we're talking about uniting people in the community and using the internet to bring people together. Whatever Kendrick Lamar did right there. I'm grossed out. We talk about it's just an open hole. Of course, you're gonna bleed. It's just a flesh wound. It's just a flesh wound. Why do you play?
An excellent parody that would be. Cut your dick off. No, I didn't.
It's just a flesh wound. I hate it when our Schwartz get twisted. Yeah, day and age, just to see Kendrick do his thing. Not to mention, I know I came on here and told you guys my Kendrick love story arc that I have now that I also consume music different than I did, and I don't know, it's just cool to see cultural moment, and that's the whole point of Decembertainment. Truly is when I find something that I think is worth sharing, and this thing, now once again, this is for a different culture and community than most people are used to, which is fine, but I always said music and food bring people together, which is why they attack those things. But they have to make fake art and sell it as real art. And when Kendrick did his thing, that is real art winning. It needs to be celebrated no matter the medium. And I will always be here for it. Just like Dave and I will always be here for December 17th, 73 on Rumble. Catch us for the weekly show. As always, David, I appreciate you most for your time, and everybody else. Thank you. And be sure to tune in tomorrow, Dave. What time? 7? 7 p.m. Eastern for the Libertarian vice presidential candidate.
You did you nailed that.
Yeah, thank you. I've been practicing. So yeah, Dave and I will always be there to ask him about all the pedophiles that run the world. And I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, everyone. I guess we're gonna talk about pedophiles.
I'm gonna
Libertarian
smoke
Party vice presidential candidate.
Question. I'm going to smoke that guy with the Epstein question. So I cannot wait to hear his answer. I cannot wait.
And then later in the week, presidential debate as well.
Yeah, it's a packed week, man. I look forward to it. And as always, David, congrats on the studio. It looks beautiful. I can't wait to see what the next year in the podcast brings, as always. So,
yeah, look at check this thing out.
Yeah, make me feel small. Buy the bearskin hoodies, the flashlights especially, and I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, everyone. 1775 coffee from Rumble. That's the go-to.
I'll see you later, bro. Thanks, guys.
See ya.